What's up, fam? Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to Chompt Down Reviews. My name's Ben, and I don't usually do reviews of episodes that just come out right off the top of my head, but there's a lot I want to get out about Season 6 of The Walking Dead's finale that aired last night. A really crazy character came into play, and there's just a lot about this episode I want to get off my chest. I haven't talked about The Walking Dead in a while because when I was going to review all the seasons, I stopped at Season 2 because it's just really boring, and I've watched it too many times. And there's a lot that I've wanted to say about Season 6 in general too, and if there's an interest, I will definitely talk about that. But I'm just going to talk about the finale for the most part. The show finally introduced Neegan, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who is an incredible actor, and for the most part, The Walking Dead is a no-name cast. Most of the actors have been from smaller works, but this is a guy who actually has a bit of star power coming with him, and that's the first time The Walking Dead's really had that added on, I think, except for the Everyone Hates Chris kid. I don't know if that counts, but that's a thing. Jeffrey Dean Morgan is like a seriously good actor. He brought a serious feeling of tension to the show that I think the show's really been needing for a while. So we hear about Jeffrey Dean Morgan playing Neegan a while ago, and they said that he would be in Season 6, and I've been waiting. I thought that he was going to be in the group at the beginning of the season that Daryl blew the RPG at. I was really confused about that whole situation, and my little cousin was like, oh, he's not going to be in it till the last episode. And I'm like, you're probably right. And he was right. The Walking Dead's formula is that understood by my 12-year-old cousin. That's absolutely insane to me. Anyways, after all this waiting, after an hour of 20 minutes of waiting in the episode, we finally get to Neegan. And let me get this out. Like, this was, honestly, for The Walking Dead, a pretty good episode. I think The Walking Dead messes up a lot of stuff in their episodes. I think they really do a seriously bad job. Like in the last episode where Morgan really should have been bit, but like the walker just kind of pushed his chest up to him like this, and he's and just couldn't reach him. It was ridiculous. For the majority of this episode, not a lot happened. It was mostly just them driving around in the RV, but the tension was seriously cool. Sometimes I don't think that The Walking Dead gets their tension quite across, and it kind of feels contrived, but for this one, every time that they stopped somewhere, the threat that they ran into that they had to stop because of, at first they didn't all look as menacing as they became, but they just got worse and worse until that guy got hung at the end and they lit all the logs on fire. That was some cool imagery. Like, I really dug that stuff. There's a lot of characters I want to talk about this episode. I don't think we really got a lot of Morgan, but I think Morgan's pretty interesting. I think he's had a really cool season so far, but I think Carl having that gun with Negan's logo on it was really cool. And I think that has a lot to do with this episode and how it has a lot to do with the comic books. Like, there's so many ties to the comic book with this episode, with a lot of the lines that Negan says being ripped straight out of his mouth. And I love when the show does that. Like, they have some really good moments. Like the tainted meat part, even though it wasn't Dale that said that, just hearing that from the comic, it just like, it rung. And I don't think it was just with comic people that it rung with. I think that part was seriously kind of messed up. And I love when the show does callbacks to the comic books. So I'm really hoping that there's more of that with Negan, especially with him and Carl's relationship. And the gun with the bat on it, it only says that there's so much that's going to happen. Like, I'm very excited to watch that play out. And I'm not going to spoil anything from the comics in here, but I'm definitely going to get into spoilers from the show. I don't think I've spoiled anything so far. I think I forget if I said spoilers already, but forget it. There's a moment when Rick is on the ground on his knees where he looks terrified, and I loved it. It was really, really cool to see this character that has been made to be so badass this whole show just be reduced to, like, not quite tears, but he looked mad. He looked so, like, insane, so, like, darty-eyed and, like, oh, I'm sorry I'm saying like so much, but it's hard to describe the way that Andrew Lincoln played Rick in this scene. It was very cool. I felt his fear, and it was really interesting. I loved when Negan was talking to Carl. I loved how he reacted. I loved that whole conversation between Negan and Carl. This is the first time that I've really been amped on an episode of The Walking Dead. I hate that it had to be the season finale. I was really amped on that Morgan episode where he kind of became a Jedi, but this episode, they really did a pretty solid job. I really liked the scene in the RV where Maggie was sick, because it was such a callback to season 1. When Jim was in the back of the RV dying because he got bit, that was seriously cool imagery to Maggie now, because it looked pretty much the same. And I have a bit of a theory about Maggie's whole situation. I have another theory that goes against my theory, but both theories are really cool. Jeremy Jahns put out a video of a theory that he has on Carol's character, who I'm going to talk about next, but it has to do with my theory. It kind of goes against it. Both theories are really cool, so I really suggest checking out his video, which I'm going to put on the little eye up here. Definitely check that out. Jeremy Jahns is really cool. But I think it's kind of likely that Maggie might have had a miscarriage at some point. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, but this is just a theory. But if it's right, then I don't want you to get mad at me. I think there's a good chance that with all the stuff that she went through, that something might have happened to the baby, and the baby could have turned into a zombie inside of her and like bit her. And oh man, I can't even imagine what that would feel like. It would probably feel a lot like that blood-curdling scream we got last episode, because that was bad, but oh man, that would be seriously messed up. That would be The Walking Dead taking it to a whole nother level. That's like some dark stuff. But I've been really confused about Carol's character recently, because starting from the episode where her and Maggie got tied up in that room together, she kind of was reduced to like a sniveling wimp. And that was like so not Carol. She's been arming little kids. She's been doing so much. She murdered 2 people in the jail, which has been talked about a lot recently. And like I mentioned, Jeremy Jahns, he has a theory about why she's acting that way, and it has to do with Maggie's pregnancy. But I'm really interested to see what happens with Carol, because I want to know if they're just writing her poorly or if they actually have somewhere for her to go. And if they have a plan for her, it could be really interesting to see how it plays out, because she's taken such a weird turn in the last few episodes. But let's get back to Neegan. I'm very torn about if I like the ending of this episode. At first I was really angry that it ended in a cliffhanger, but I think the shot that it ended on was actually really cool. Realistically, that like drip down the face, although it looked cheesy at first, really interesting way to end the season. Especially because it gives AMC more time to decide who they want to kill if they haven't already, which I feel like that would be a really AMC thing to do. The eeny money mo part with Neegan was really cool, I thought. At first I was kind of weirded out by the way that the editing started to not line up with the song, and how he started not even pointing to the words of the song. He kind of was just picking at random. And that's kind of why it balanced out, because his randomness kind of lended to the fact that the editing was random. So I think that's pretty cool. But the way that they did it, it's almost impossible to tell who it was that got beaten the crap out of. I kind of want to rewatch the season to see if there's a lot of foreshadowing to who it was, because that would be really cool if there was a certain line that pointed to a character that we could look out for. Part of me feels like they left it ambiguous just to give them more time to decide, because whoever it was that got beaten up, it's gonna have a crazy effect on the group, no matter who it was. Everyone that was at that group was an important character. Every important character from Alexandria just left single file, one by one, until we have the whole group of important characters here. And damn, I am excited to figure out who it is. If I was to speculate, maybe it's Abraham, because he stepped up. That definitely makes it seem like he would be a force to be reckoned with. And he's had a lot of really touchy moments trying to plan having kids and stuff, and that's kind of out of place. It could be Eugene for sure, but he already got the crap beaten out of him. You can kind of tell for one of the shots it doesn't look like he got beat up, but then the other one it looks like his whole face is swollen, so maybe not necessarily. If it was Daryl, I would be really surprised, but I would be really interested to see that. If it was Daryl, I don't think there'd be a reason for him to be shot the last episode. That'd be kind of silly. But we know that he's not dead already, so who knows what they're gonna do with Daryl's character. And if it's Carl, that would be really crazy. Neegan called him out. I don't think he would beat up Carl, but I think it would be really interesting if he did. Definitely not Rick, though. But what if we don't know that the person died that Neegan beat up, so it could be cool either way. So I'm very curious as to what you think. I want to hear other people's opinions on it, so if you have an idea, let me know. I'm gonna put a poll up right here to see if I should do another Walking Dead episode and which one I should do. I could either do a video on this season as a whole, or I could go back to doing more seasons in general until I get to the season that we're at now. I have a lot to say about this show in general. There's just so much to unpack. I have a lot of weird feelings about this show that I feel like a lot of other people have too but aren't talking about, so if you're interested, let me know. And if you want other reviews on all sorts of things, superheroes, anything else, I have a ton of them, and I hope you stick around to find out what they are. So I will see you soon, ladies and gentlemen. Take it easy, and thank you so much for joining the Chompt Down.